There's something heavy sitting on this connection, and the energy coming through is not just guilt, it's avoidance. Your person keeps replaying a specific moment, a specific night, and every time they think about reaching out, shame rises to the surface before words ever can. What's interesting is that the cards don't show someone who stopped caring. They show someone who cares deeply, but feels emotionally exposed after what happened. And the reason they can't face you right now is because they know you saw a side of them they were trying desperately to keep hidden. The first card opening this reading is the Moon card. This is secrets, emotional confusion, hidden motives, and things happening beneath the surface. The Moon is rarely straightforward. It tells me this person was already carrying emotional conflict long before that night unfolded. They may have presented themselves as calm, confident, detached, or in control, but internally they were struggling with fears they never admitted aloud. The Moon shows somebody who suppresses emotions until they spill out in indirect ways, through silence, mixed signals, strange behavior, or emotional inconsistency. And when I clarified why they feel ashamed specifically, the Five of Cups card came out immediately beside it. That is regret, deep regret, not surface-level embarrassment. This is somebody replaying their actions over and over, wondering why they handled things the way they did. They know disappointment was created. They know emotional damage happened. What's powerful here is that the Five of Cups usually appears when someone focuses so heavily on what went wrong that they can't yet see a path toward repair. So this person keeps disappearing into their own thoughts instead of confronting the situation directly. What happened that night feels emotionally significant because the cards show exposure, emotional exposure. The Page of Swords card tells me words were exchanged, truth slipped out, or behavior revealed more than intended. For some of you, this person said something impulsive. For others, they acted distant right after intimacy or vulnerability. And for another group of you, this person realized they had stronger feelings than they were prepared to admit. That realization scared them more than they expected. The thing about the Page of Swords is that it represents nervous energy and emotional defensiveness. This is someone who overthinks every interaction afterward. They analyze your reactions. They replay conversations. They even stalk social media or look for indirect signs about how you feel now. But instead of communicating openly, they stay trapped in observation mode because they fear confirmation that they hurt you. Now the energy shifts because sitting underneath all of this is the Knight of Pentacles card, and this changes the interpretation completely. The Knight of Pentacles is not somebody careless with emotions. Slow? Yes. Emotionally awkward? Absolutely. But reckless with meaningful connections? Not usually. This tells me your person genuinely wanted stability with you, but they move emotionally at a pace that often causes misunderstandings. They need time to process feelings before expressing them, and unfortunately that creates silence exactly when reassurance is needed most. The problem is that after that night, they realized the connection had become real, too real. The emotional walls they normally maintain started collapsing, and instead of leaning into vulnerability, they retreated back into self-protection. The cards keep repeating this theme over and over. Avoidance is not absence of feelings here. It is fear of emotional accountability, and the next card confirms it perfectly. The Eight of Swords card shows someone mentally trapped. Your person feels stuck between wanting to speak and feeling incapable of doing so correctly. They fear saying the wrong thing. They fear reopening emotional wounds. They fear looking weak. And strangely enough, they also fear how much power you now have over their emotions, because after that night, you saw through them. You saw something real beneath the image they try to maintain. For many of you, this person is used to controlling how others perceive them. They may normally appear composed, emotionally unavailable, logical, independent, or detached, but around you something cracked open emotionally, and now they feel exposed in a way they cannot easily recover from. The Eight of Swords often appears when someone's own thoughts become their prison. That's exactly what's happening here. And here's where the reading becomes deeper. The Queen of Cups card appears in your energy position. This tells me you are far more emotionally intuitive than this person expected. Whether you realize it or not, they feel seen by you, completely seen. And that's both comforting and terrifying for them. Because people who carry hidden emotional wounds often crave intimacy while simultaneously fearing it. The Queen of Cups energy is compassionate, emotionally intelligent, nurturing, and deeply perceptive. Your person senses that you understand more than they say aloud, and that's why they can't simply pretend nothing happened. They know you would notice the emotional dishonesty immediately. What's also fascinating is the emotional contrast between your energies. You process emotions through feeling and intuition. They process emotions through suppression and overthinking. That creates this painful dynamic where both people care deeply, but communication becomes blocked by fear and misunderstanding. Now the cards begin revealing what they're hiding specifically. The Seven of Pentacles card shows someone questioning whether they sabotaged something valuable. They're wondering if they ruined the connection permanently. They're wondering whether too much damage was done during that night or in the aftermath afterward. And they are absolutely blaming themselves more than you realize. What's hidden beneath their silence is disappointment in themselves, not just regret over the situation, but regret over how they handled their own emotions. The Seven of Pentacles is deeply reflective energy. This person has been sitting alone thinking about timing, choices, consequences, and emotional investment. They're asking themselves questions like, why did I pull away? Why couldn't I just be honest? Why did I react like that? Why am I so afraid of this connection? And every answer leads them back to vulnerability. The next card is powerful because it explains the core wound driving all of this, the Nine of Wands card. This is emotional exhaustion mixed with self-protection. Your person has been hurt before, deeply. The Nine of Wands always carries defensive energy from past experiences, so even though their feelings for you are genuine, part of them automatically expects pain to follow emotional closeness. That's why they pull away after moments of intimacy or emotional depth. It's not necessarily because the connection was meaningless. It's because the connection became meaningful, and that distinction matters. The stronger their emotions became, the more their defense mechanisms activated. The cards keep showing someone fighting themselves internally. One side wants closeness. The other side fears losing control emotionally. And after that night, both sides collided at once. The energy intensifies again with the Justice card. This tells me karma is heavily involved here. Not punishment, but accountability. Your person knows they owe you honesty. They know avoidance is unfair. They know silence creates confusion. Justice forces people to confront truths they would rather escape from. And whether they admit it aloud or not, they feel spiritually pulled toward making things right. But there's still hesitation because the next card is the Hermit card. The Hermit isolates before speaking. This person is not emotionally ready to rush back and pretending everything is fine. They're trying to understand themselves first, trying to understand why this connection affected them so strongly, trying to understand why one night shifted their emotional world this dramatically. And honestly, they did not expect you to matter this much. That realization changed everything internally. The Hermit also tells me they've been withdrawing socially or emotionally in general, not only from you. Their energy feels heavy, introspective, mentally consumed. They may appear distant externally, while internally they're experiencing emotional chaos they cannot fully organize yet. But the important thing is this: the feelings did not disappear. In fact, the deeper truth hiding underneath all this silence is revealed by the final card in this spread, the King of Cups. And this changes the entire emotional landscape of the reading. The King of Cups is someone with deep emotions they struggle to verbalize. This is not shallow attachment. This is not temporary attraction. The King of Cups feels intensely, but controls expression so carefully that other people often misunderstand what's happening internally. That's exactly why your person appears cold, distant, or emotionally unreadable right now. Inside, they are overwhelmed. Outside, they are trying not to lose composure. And the reason this energy matters so much is because the King of Cups came out directly after the Hermit. That combination shows someone silently drowning in emotions while pretending they're fine. Your person has been carrying conversations in their head that they haven't had with you in real life. They imagine reaching out. They imagine apologizing. They imagine explaining everything. But every scenario ends with fear. Fear that you won't forgive them. Fear that you'll reject them. Fear that they waited too long. Fear that you now see them differently. The cards keep circling back to humiliation. Emotional humiliation. Not because they exposed a dark secret necessarily, but because they exposed emotional weakness they normally keep hidden from everyone. For many of you, this person prides themselves on appearing emotionally strong or emotionally controlled. But after that night, they realized you affect them in ways they cannot regulate. That loss of emotional control shook them deeply. The next card clarifying their hidden thoughts is the Two of Swords card. This is emotional stalemate energy. Your person is stuck between two impulses. One side wants to return, explain everything, and reconnect emotionally. The other side wants to avoid vulnerability altogether and protect themselves from potential rejection, so they remain frozen. The Two of Swords often appears when someone delays action because they're afraid the truth will force irreversible change. Your person understands that once this conversation happens, the connection can no longer stay emotionally undefined. Everything becomes real after that. And strangely enough, that intensity intimidates them, especially because the next clarifier is the Ace of Cups card. This is the emotional truth they're trying to suppress. The Ace of Cups is genuine emotional overflow, new love, emotional awakening, vulnerability breaking through emotional barriers. Your person developed feelings that became stronger than they intended, and instead of handling those emotions maturely in the moment, they retreated into confusion and avoidance. That's why their behavior afterward feels contradictory, because internally they care far more than their actions suggest. And honestly, this reading keeps showing someone who became emotionally frightened by the depth of this connection. The Ace of Cups beside the Moon card from earlier tells me this person tried to hide feelings they could no longer fully control. They may have convinced themselves this would stay casual, temporary, manageable, or emotionally safe. But after that night, reality interrupted the fantasy. Now they can't go back to pretending indifference. The energy becomes even heavier with the Ten of Wands card. This person is emotionally burdened, carrying guilt, carrying stress, carrying unsaid words. The Ten of Wands shows emotional pressure building over time until avoidance itself becomes exhausting. And that's where they are now. At first, silence felt easier. Now silence feels unbearable, because every day that passes creates more emotional tension around reaching out again. The longer they wait, the harder the conversation feels. The harder the conversation feels, the more anxious they become. So the cycle repeats. But what's very important here is that the cards do not show emotional detachment. If anything, they show emotional overload. The next card explains why they keep watching from a distance instead of communicating directly, the Page of Pentacles card. This is cautious energy, nervous communication energy, someone wanting to approach carefully because they understand emotional trust must be rebuilt slowly. Your person doesn't want superficial conversation anymore. They know the situation requires sincerity. The problem is, they're terrified they won't express themselves correctly. For some of you, they've already typed messages they never sent. For others, they check your online activity constantly. For another group, mutual friends may somehow still connect your energies indirectly. This person is absolutely still tuned into you. and now the cards begin exposing what they haven't admitted aloud, even to themselves. The Lover's card appears beside the Ace of Cups. That combination is emotionally undeniable. The Lovers is not only romance, it's emotional choice, soul-level recognition, vulnerability requiring honesty. This connection forced your person to confront feelings they can no longer rationalize away, and I keep hearing this very strongly. They didn't mean to fall this hard. The Lover's card also reveals why they feel so conflicted internally, because real emotional intimacy requires authenticity, no masks, no emotional games, no detachment. And this person has spent a long time surviving through emotional self-protection mechanisms. But around you, those defenses stopped working. You reached places emotionally they normally keep locked away, and now they don't know how to return to emotional distance without feeling the loss of what this connection could have been. The next card is incredibly telling. The Six of Cups card shows nostalgia consuming them. They replay memories constantly, specific words, specific looks, specific moments from that night. There's one detail especially that keeps repeating in their mind, something emotionally intimate, vulnerable, or unexpectedly genuine. Not necessarily dramatic, not necessarily physical, but emotionally significant. The Six of Cups is memory energy tied to emotional longing. This person misses your presence more than they admit outwardly. And because shame is involved, nostalgia becomes painful instead of comforting. Every good memory reminds them of what they mishandled afterward. That's why they sometimes disappear emotionally for periods of time. They're not detached. They're overwhelmed by conflicting emotions they haven't learned to process properly. And then we reach one of the strongest cards in this entire reading, the Tower card. This is the internal collapse they never expected. The Tower appears when emotional truths destroy illusions. Your person had convinced themselves they were emotionally safe, in control, untouchable. But this connection disrupted that entire identity. After that night, they could no longer pretend they were unaffected. The Tower is panic mixed with awakening, and that explains the intensity of their withdrawal afterward. People often misunderstand the Tower because they focus only on chaos. But spiritually, the Tower removes false emotional structures. It tears down avoidance. It exposes truth. And the truth here is that your person's feelings became impossible to deny. That realization terrified them, especially because the next clarifier is the Four of Pentacles card. This card clings tightly to emotional control. Your person is trying desperately not to expose how deeply they feel. They fear emotional dependency. They fear vulnerability. They fear needing someone emotionally because past experiences taught them that emotional attachment often leads to pain, abandonment, or disappointment. So even now, part of them wants to hold everything inside, but the energy is becoming impossible for them to contain. The Four of Pentacles beside the Tower tells me emotional pressure is building toward eventual release. Silence cannot continue forever under this combination. Something has to give eventually. And here's what's fascinating. Despite all this fear, they still feel magnetically pulled toward you. That pull is shown clearly by the Knight of Cups card. This card is emotional pursuit, romantic intention, heartfelt communication trying to emerge. The Knight of Cups appears when someone wants reconciliation emotionally, but struggles with consistency while getting there. Your person absolutely fantasizes about reconnecting with you. They imagine softer conversations, honest conversations, emotional repair, but they also fear confronting the damage already created, so they move emotionally in waves, approach mentally, retreat emotionally, miss you privately, hide publicly. And underneath everything, one truth remains consistent across every card in this spread. They are ashamed because they care more than they intended to.